Welcome everyone to the AJ Alutwala show where we talk about business, entrepreneurship, technology, and today it's going to be about music. And we have two gentlemen all the way from Sri Lanka joining us, Bathiya and Santhush.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Jay,
Hello.
how are you?
Hi. Good to be here.
Very good, very good. So we are in Tampa, Florida, and this is the first stop of your US tour in 2024.
Yes, this is the first stop in USA. But when you take this entire part, this is show number 5.
This is show 5.
Yes.
So before coming here, my understanding is you were in Canada.
We were in Canada. So we started with Calgary, then we went to Vancouver, we went to Ottawa, and then we played in Toronto, and then to Florida.
And after today, we're going to go to?
After today, we are going to New York after this.
New York.
And then from New York, we go to Houston to LA, and then the tour stops there.
Wow.
North America.
Right. So this tour is it almost a month or longer than a month?
No, it's exactly a month. We started on the 5th or the 6th of March, and we close on the 6th of April.
6th of April.
So altogether 1 month, and we are doing 8 shows.
Very good. Wow. One month and eight
Yes.
shows.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to turn it over to you, Santhush.
Yeah.
And what we really want to cover during today's chat is the behind the scenes of doing an international tour, because I know our viewers would like to see what really goes into doing this kind of a tour, right? Because a lot of people know that you guys probably did a tour or are on a tour right now, but they don't get to see what happens behind the scenes, right? Are there any memorable situations or maybe some fan interaction that happened up to now in this tour?
Well, of course, every show has enough and more memories. And when we get on stage, what we do is creating memories for others. So every show, yes, there are memories. And every song is creating that memory. But going on tour is not easy because before we go on a tour, what we do is, first of all, you need to cut a show.
Right.
That is the most important thing. So you put the songs together, then you think of a concept that will go with the entire thing. So now this current show is called the BNS show together with Umari and Randir. So there are a set of songs which falls into a particular concept, and there are creatives which surrounds that. So there is a energy-packed show which fills your soul. Same times you feel like moving your feet and dancing and having a good time towards the end. So this is the whole gist of the entire show. So once you do that, then you have the technicalities.
Yeah.
The front end and the back end. I won't go into details. Right, you get the logistics, then you get the technicals of which is on stage and off stage. Then, of course, together with us, what we're going to wear, to all the creatives and the technicalities, logistics with regard to that. Then the operations, who's going to do the part, starting from sounds to lights to stage to the back end screens. Then the operations of giving a microphone. It may sound a very small thing, but when an artist gets on stage, the connection, the operational connection of the set, the front of house, the engineers, you get released. There is no way that that we could connect with an artist when they're on stage.
Yeah.
Right? Unless we break the ice and they say, hello, hold on, I can't hear. Right?
Yeah.
So that is where a show breaks down. Right? So we try a level best not to go there.
Right.
So it should be a seamless show. So putting all these things together and then systemizing that and sending it to the relevant organizers in document form as to say, this is how it's going to happen, the operations plus the legalities, the agreements, all these things. Then goes the tickets, the visas, all these things. So there's a lot of work which happens.
Yeah. would you call that the biggest logistical challenge? When I say that, would you call getting the technicalities in place especially for an international show, as the biggest challenge when you bring an international show together, or is it everything that happens off stage in terms of getting the visas, getting the
Yeah.
right crew, the band, and the people who are behind the scenes in housing, all of the. I mean, what would you call the biggest logistical challenge when you have an international tour or a show?
In terms of creatives, it is never a challenge because we've been doing this for past 25 years. So we dream of different creatives, and we would like to make that for it to be a reality. So, but only the reservations we would have is sometimes what we want to do on stage might not fit the economies of scales, in relevant countries, and sometimes something that we would plan for California might not fit in for a small town like Tampa.
Right.
Right. So those things are there, and also right now with the situation of the country is just getting the act together.
Yeah.
So in terms of visas, it might be challenging in certain countries to obtain it for musical acts, especially when you want to bring a large crew with you. Then it could be challenging.
Yeah.
But apart from that, all the others are just normal logistics that we do. And when it's an international tour, this is a set plan thing that happens, and this particular formula is done by everyone in the world of the A circuit bands in the world.
Right. Very good. Bathiya, now, this is your second or the third tour?
No, to USA we have been
Here so many
we've
times,
done
right?
about 5, 6,
5,
7
6 tours. Okay.
Yeah, because we have been coming to US and Canada since 2002.
2002, yeah. Yeah.
So it's been a long time since we have been coming. So
Yeah.
we've been coming back and forth a lot of times.
Mhm.
So this may be like the 5th, 6th, or the 7th time. I can't exactly tell you
Right.
when, but then this is definitely the 5th, 6th, or the 7th time that we're coming.
Right. What do you see as the main difference catering to the Sri Lankans who are in the US versus going to a place like Australia?
So see, when you talk about Sri Lankans living, in different parts of the world,
Yeah.
See, Australia is a very, I must say, okay, we have more Sri Lankans than in the US, in Australia.
Yeah.
And also that market, as for the Sri Lankan community, it's a far more matured kind of a market.
Yeah.
So when we do concerts there, the scale of the concerts are much larger than what we do in the States.
Right.
Simply because the main reason is because we've got more people and they can afford more production kind of scale there.
Yeah.
And also you get people who have gone there in very, very, like in the last 2-3 years. So constantly that Australian Sri Lankan community is, I think, more in touch with what's happening in Sri Lanka on a contemporary level than the people here. So when we come here, what we quite realize is even though we live and stay, we live in a, we live in a day and age where YouTube is available, everything. We feel that the Sri Lankans in the US are slightly disconnected in terms of the right now, the contemporary thing which is happening right now in Sri Lanka, but Australia is far more updated. So in terms of all those, what happens is when we bring the show here, we try to create a bit more of a nostalgic kind of a throw at the audience. But when we go to Australia, we keep it very current, extremely current.
Yeah.
And UK is in between. So and then you get other markets like Italy. You get markets like Dubai and all. They are very contemporary. They are like very current. They're quite in touch with what's happening on ground in Sri Lanka. So when we go to Canada as well, Canada is also a little bit like Australia, but the scale is slightly smaller, but quite more closer to what's like the Australian Sri Lankan community. But
Right.
US, except for some states, generally, I think people are the connection between home and here is a little bit slower.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably because we are way, like, way, I mean, all the way on the other side of the
No, but then Canada is
like right
it's
there.
better.
Yeah,
It's a bit further
it's right
down.
there.
So,
It's right there.
so
Yeah, yeah,
no, I think it's because of the people who come here,
yeah,
the work that they do,
Yeah.
and the jobs that they do, and the way that this country basically gets them assimilated to the country, the society itself. It's the the country
Mhm.
itself gets people to properly, smoothly integrate far better than maybe the other countries. Maybe that's
Maybe.
one reason that
Yeah.
that it happens.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So when you do these kind of tours, international tours, right? And we were just chatting right before this this sit down. We talked about how cold it was in Canada, right?
Yes.
And Tampa's weather is just like maybe very similar to the weather in Sri Lanka,
Yes.
right? And as you go through different climates during a tour, you go from extreme cold weather to warm weather, back to cold. You get exposed to all kinds of
Yes.
climates. How do you help your crew and yourselves to stay healthy?
Okay, so it's quite interesting when we go to places like UAE and all those places.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
But then you go to UK also, because see, UK is sometimes we don't do it as a part of a tour. We just go to UK, play, and come back. So
Yeah.
it's just 3 days. So even if it's cold or warm, it's okay.
It doesn't matter.
So you stay there for a
Yeah.
few days. But Australia, US, the problem is that if we come when it's either transitioning to spring or whether it's deep winter,
Yeah.
the problem that we have is when we go from east to west and come to south, from north to south, we have a massive variation in temperature. So what we've told the crew and what we do is as well, we don't break rest a lot. We try to get as much as sleep as possible, because that way we keep ourselves fit.
Yeah.
Because we're not used to the climates as well.
Yeah.
And also when we go from zone to zone, we try to, adhere to good practices in keeping ourselves warm,
Yeah.
by dressing well. And,
Yeah.
and also we try to stay away from cold, stuff when we, eat. We
Yeah.
try to stick to warm stuff. And
Yeah.
the simple stuff that anybody would do, but then you need to do it like a regime, because
Right.
if you don't do it, if somebody gets sick and then you're a crew, it just spreads within the crew. So we had a very, very bad experience in the Australian tour. So when we went to Australia and to New Zealand,
Yeah.
the issue was that we landed smack bang in the peak of winter.
Mm.
Peak of winter, we
Winter.
landed there,
Yeah.
and it was so cold. And by the time we went from the first or second Australian show to
Yeah. New Zealand. Yeah.
New Zealand, entire crew got sick.
Mm.
So the shows which happened in between those were a nightmare. So we
Right.
had to take a lot of antibiotics and take people to the doctors and give them a lot of meds
So
and
it's
stuff
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
And we had to get them upright.
Yeah.
So that is a big nightmare, but we try to make it, try
Yeah.
to stay safe. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great, right? So it's sometimes the little things that matter, right? And you have to regiment those little
Yes.
things to keep yourself and the crew safe, right? One of the things I want to ask you, Santhush, is beyond the music, right? The touring can be a transformative experience, right?
Mhm.
How does that personally affected you? Is there any I guess situations where or instance in life where you thought that because I had this experience, because of all my international travel, I was able to face that situation in a different way than if you wouldn't have had that experience?
Of course. I mean, I think if I may connect with the first question you asked, what are the memories you create? Right? Some of the memories, yes, when you look back, you realize, oh my God, how did we do it?
Yeah.
And some of the memories, some of those things, incidents that have happened have definitely helped us later on in life to, overcome certain things, right? Even certain small logistical things on stage, how we put our music together, how people perceive our music, all that. But what is more interesting is when you go on tour, you get to different countries, you see different cultures, you meet Sri Lankans who have come from Sri Lanka, but now their attitudes are different. They see life differently. Uh, Starting from personal development to personal discipline to how they see life, how they seek opportunity, how they have brought in discipline to themselves to achieve what they want to do, how they have changed their normal traditional values, and they have opened up. They have integrated with the relevant cultures in those countries. So all those things actually bring you to a space where it kind of transforms your ideas, your values. And so as musicians and as artists, it is natural for us to understand that emotionally, and then to see what kind of emotional relevance you find within music, right?
Right.
So you create music, right? So that definitely helps in terms of certain transformations with regard to your music, because you get exposed to different musicians.
Yeah.
Right. Then you get to hear different things. So in terms of your music also, it kind of enriches your music.
Right.
And even entrepreneurship, right? I think that is the greatest thing. I really wish all Sri Lankans could be sent out of Sri Lanka for at least 3 months, right? Maybe to the nearest country like Singapore, or maybe currently even India, right? Certain vibrant parts of India.
And why
to
do you say that?
see to see how they understand uh, uh, change, right?
Yeah.
And how they seek opportunity,
Yeah.
right? And say, for example, now when you come to US is so different from the rest of the world. Is I mean, we have heard the phrase where they say this is a land of opportunity.
Right.
I think it is absolutely true. This is a land of opportunity. The sense of freedom you find here is very different to the rest of the part of to the rest of the world, right? There is true freedom. I mean, let's say, but if someone wants to dress up in a certain way and walk on streets, it's very seldom that you'll be judged,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that is the expression.
Yeah.
And especially Sri Lankans who have come here, right? Most of them are doing utmost well, because most of them who are doing really well are the people who have, taken that risk to explore with their, talents with regard to taking that risk, thinking differently, and doing innovative things.
Right.
Right. So, as you said, it is a total transformation, even for a musician, to see these things in not only terms of music, right? In terms of entrepreneurship, to so many things. So, coming from a country like Sri Lanka, right, where there is so much of talent, so much of resources, it is good to see the rest of the world and sometimes feel that, yes, as Sri Lankan, sometimes we need to step 1 or 2 steps behind.
Yeah.
Strategize ourselves again and create a new game plan for us. Because sometimes in that small land, in that little island, we are being taught that we have the greatest history, we are the Utum Maratha and that entire thing.
Yeah.
But what is more important is, I think, for the entire 22 million to understand, yes, we have a beautiful country. We have quite a rich, let's say, human resource.
Yeah.
We have a lot of natural resources, all those things. But we need to think differently. We need to see how we could seek opportunity.
Yeah.
We need to see how we can integrate with the world.
Yeah.
We need to look at self to the development of the country in a different way.
Yeah.
So for that to happen, sometimes we need to erase our normal ways of
What we know.
thinking and transform ourselves.
Yeah.
So yes, the transformation does happen to us. And I look forward in going on tour.
Yeah.
Especially to
Fantastic.
absorb this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't talk too much. I just absorb what's happening around the world.
Yeah.
And yes, that whole transformation process happens a lot during tour.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that, and I can definitely relate to that. From an entrepreneurship perspective, this is definitely the land of opportunity. And when you show up here, you got to grab that opportunity, right? It's not just presented to you, but you got to go seek it. And to your point earlier about, it's for the Sri Lankans, I think we just need a little bit of competition. Right, we need to know what the person next door is doing. Right, if we see that.
Yeah. Also, if I may add, sometimes it is not only competition; it is that focus.
Yeah.
Right. Now, for example, you take. I have actually addressed. I have mentioned this in other interviews also, but I think this is very relevant to your question.
Yeah.
In the sense now, in Sri Lanka, if you take the blue chip companies, all the top CEOs, they are the powerhouse of the country.
Right.
If you take all the top companies who actually give the heart and blood to the entire economy, all these companies have diversified themselves from one industry to another. They start with hospitality, and once they feel that they have come to saturation point in Sri Lanka, they would move on to FMCG.
Right.
Then they'll move into insurance. Then they'll move into medical. Then they'll move into IT. Then to banking.
Right.
So all these companies are doing the same thing. Right? They're just moving from one to another. So it is very horizontal integration. If you take US, it's different. If someone wants to become the biggest plastic manufacturing company in the world, that's their vision.
Right.
They would go from one state to another state to another state. They would expand, having that one focus. Then they would go to the rest of the world.
Right.
You take CAT. You take all these big companies. I mean, all these, big companies. They have one focus.
Right.
So they want to become the best in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's narrow.
So that adds. Yeah. So it's very
narrow.
I would say
it's a niche.
Very vertical integration.
Right.
I mean, vertical development.
Yeah.
So now that thinking is not there in Sri Lanka.
Right.
So that part of the world,
we are doing land grabs.
Yeah, just going like that.
Right. So that's a subject we can talk for 2 days, right?
Of course.
We'll switch gears a little bit and maybe talk a little bit about family life, right? So when you are a musician, you obviously spend a whole lot of time away from your family, especially when you are doing international tours. Now you are gone for a month.
Yes.
Right. So Bathiya, how do you manage time away from family? And is there a better way of doing this? Because the reason why I asked this question is obviously not getting into your personal business.
No, that's okay. That's a very valid kind of question.
Yeah.
So what happens is, see, when initially when we started to tour, we were not married.
Right.
And so it's a matter of going home and telling your mom or dad saying, okay, look, we're going on tour.
Yeah.
We'll see you on next date.
Yeah.
But then you get married, and then the first few years, they also came on tour. Wives also, they also came on tour with us because they wanted to see the world with us.
Yeah.
And then after some time, then we have our kids. Even when the kids were small, the kids also used to come on tour with us. But then when they start school and when they start their own activities, then only this problem starts happening where, you have to keep them and, you have to start traveling.
Yeah.
But by that time, they have also understood that this man's, job or this man's work or this man's lifestyle, it requires him to completely keep moving around. Now, even when we are back in Sri Lanka, yes, we are at home, but then, we go outstation for a lot of concerts and we come back.
Yeah.
So now what's happened is that they're used to it and they're used to our lifestyles. And we also, as much as possible, we try to keep in touch with them when we go on tour. But now I think with everything going on with FaceTime, with WhatsApp video calls and with us, with so many options available,
you can still stay connected.
You can still stay connected, and you don't feel that you are afar because call, you can call each other while even brushing your teeth. You can call each other. It's not like those days where you you have to make a call at a particular time, or you have to get a card and then scratch it and get the code and then dial the international call. So now I think the world now actually I can, like, if I put this perspective to you in 1990s. I can remember when my entire family was in Australia. You feel that they are away from you. You feel that they are not there because you see them when they come on holiday and you make a call randomly, and phone calls are very expensive at that time. But now, do you feel that? Do you feel that your parents are far?
No.
You are here because you're constantly on a video call with them, and actually you might be in touch with them more when you're away than when you're there with them physically.
Right.
So it's the same with our families, because when we are there, we are working, they go to school, all that, and you don't make an effort to make a video call when you're there.
Right.
But then when you're on tour, I feel that you are in touch with them more.
Right.
And that you connect to them more, anybody, like including your family, your extended families. I think when you're away right now with the way the world is, the technology, you're connected with them more.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, right? With all the technology advancement, it's so easy here for us to stay connected with our loved ones back home. So
because I can remember there was a song by this guy called Do Beggar back in the day in 1998. He used to say, all we need is a mobile phone to tell everybody we are not at home.
Right.
If you can remember that song. So, that perspective, I'm talking about the he was perspective of that.
So, in this career of music, what have you seen as the business side of it? Again, I'm trying this back to this tour that you're doing, right? Not just performing, concert after concert in Sri Lanka, but when you do an international tour like this, how do you relate that to the business side of your brand, right? Bathiya and Santhush is a brand, right? People like your music is because of your brand, right? Because of you two guys, right? So what do you see as the business side of that?
So in terms of the whole equation of BNS, we have always told everybody when we came to the industry in Sri Lanka, people were afraid to say that this is a music business or this is the music industry.
Right.
People used to call this, the field of arts. And everybody was talking only about, the creative part of it. But then we saw it like a business, and that's one reason that we have grown. As in, yes, we did a lot of new songs, new creatives. We keep adding on, brand new things. But we also saw it like a business. So we wanted to make it into a corporate. So if you know our story, I won't explain the whole story to you, but then we started, we basically backward integrated into our own business. And we started a set of studios. We started an event company, which are now huge companies in Sri Lanka. And also we have an record label, and we have a video production house. We have an agency. So we have a cluster of companies, like about 12 companies in our group. So that we made it into a very corporate kind of business. But in terms of BNS and the tours, of course, usually what people do is that, when it comes to concerts, when it comes to tours, when it comes to brand endorsements, some of the artists take this as and when it comes.
Right.
It's like, okay, work came to me. But no, for us, we plan this into our entire annual plan. We plan it into our portfolio. We plan it into our next 5-year plan. So we know exactly when we are going to the US, Canada. We know exactly when we are going to Australia. So that becomes a part of that year's revenue stream.
Right.
So then you align it with whatever is happening back at home.
Right.
So constantly when we go on tour, something that he says all the time is, we need to make sure that we analyze the opportunity cost. Because
it's there.
Because just because you come on tour, it doesn't mean that
you're making money.
You're making the same amount that you do back at home. So sometimes that is a question mark. So you need to address all these issues. And you need to bring the tour into the equation of the annual plan. So that is what we do. And we were one of the first to actually, we were one of the first Sri Lankan bands to successfully make the equation where we could bring an entire crew, as in the sound, the light, the LED walls, and the stage managers.
Right.
So those days it was just the band and the sound engineer coming.
Yeah.
But now we bring the entire crew.
Right.
So we were one of the first to bring this entire model on board.
Yeah.
And it has been a good journey, and I think we have grown it from where it was, because those days, I think when you brought a band from Sri Lanka at one point, the entire logistics of the concert production was also handed over to the show promoter.
Right.
As in the logistical part on stage, the logistical part at the hall.
Yeah.
But we took that off and we absorbed it into our equation as well.
Right.
So now we bring an entire crew, they deal with the tech guys and the whole thing. So what we want to do is we want to keep this particular, say, for example, if you look at this, like as you said, if you look at this as a revenue stream, we want to add value to it and keep growing that.
Yeah.
And now we are in the process of trying to bring in a new culture to how the Sri Lankan tours are done. So I won't share it at the moment because it's too early for that. But now we are trying to bring in that new, if you can call it the Sri Lankan tour culture 2.0. We're trying to bring in the 2 or the 3.0, because 2.0 is this. So we definitely see this as a business.
Yeah. No, that's great. You obviously when you speak, I can tell that the way you look at your career and the brand is strictly, it's really strictly from a business perspective, because you are
No, I won't say that it's strictly from a business perspective, because from day one, we do this with a lot of passion. We create songs with a lot of passion.
Yeah.
Whenever we go on stage, whether it's a paid concert or a free concert,
right,
it's all about the fans who are in front.
Yeah.
We just give our heart and soul and we perform to the best of our ability. Say, if you see us at a free show or a paid show, you won't see any difference at all. Right. Sometimes the free show may be more this thing, because it depends on the audience which is there.
Yeah.
And we don't stick to a time frame where we say, okay, we have just come to do 45 minutes, so we're going off. No, if the crowd is having a good time, we still go on.
Right.
So it has never been about business.
Right.
It has always been about the passion, the creativity, and what we do. We are true to our art.
Right.
But art cannot survive this commercial storm which is going out if you don't structure it into a business.
Right.
This is what I was telling you.
Perfect. So for our viewers, Santhush, right?
Yeah.
Bathiya talked about how I guess a well-oiled artistic outfit should be running. From your perspective, what are some of the advice what is the advice that you would give to those who are watching, who are budding artists in Sri Lanka, who aspire one day to do international tours? Maybe they are just, performing all over the place in Sri Lanka, but they want to do their first international tour. Where would they start?
Well, first of all, you got to get your content together, right? So creating original content, creating content of your own. Even if you're doing a remake, you need to bring your flavor into it and get your content together. Right. And while you're creating your content, you need to create a brand together with it. Right. So people know the entire experience they're going to get by listening to your show. Right. So it is not only just a song, how you present it, your light, your sounds, your, what you wear, everything on stage. Your total act on stage, right? So once that's connected with a brand, and then your value proposition as to what you're going to offer, right? Then automatically there is a demand created. So you need to do that in Sri Lanka, in your own country first, right? Even if you're, say, living in Australia, or let's say you're living in USA, it doesn't matter, right? Get your community together. How you develop your brand as a person who's in Melbourne or as a person who's in New York or California or Tampa is you need to get your roots together. Whoever you are, you need to understand yourself.
Yeah.
This is the whole gist of creating an artist. First of all, you need to get to know yourself, right? Then your surrounding, what you've grown up with, your experiences about the world, your personal story, right? You put that together into content, into beautiful music, right? What you feel about things, right?
Yeah.
How your own perceptions, your own understandings. Don't be scared to share your thoughts, right?
Right.
Take that risk, be bold, right? Be emotional, give that total thing into it. So then you'll realize you have something, right? Then you package this beautifully so that people understand what this is all about. The moment they see you, they understand, okay, this is this, right? So once all that is done, communicate that through YouTube, to your Spotify, to all those things. Take some time. Don't think about touring, right?
Right.
Take some time, give that. Then you create this, then you create an impression with people, right? There'll be a following, right? Once that is done, choose your nearest country, right? Where you feel, okay, this is quite strong for me to go and do what I want to do,
Right.
right? Then I think if you refer to the earlier things, that I told you how to put your tour together, what basic stuff, put those things in a very, in a very basic way. But don't forget the basic what I told you, as in like because finally when you're on stage, you need to give an experience to people, right? So it may be you're playing just with a guitar, could be, right? But if you're going to come and sing the same song what Karan sang, right? Or if you're going to sing the same song in your own way, it's just going to be a song.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're an artist, you have to give what you feel.
Yeah.
Right? So they create memories.
Yeah.
So once that is done, you go to that relevant country and you do your first tour.
Yeah.
Right? But why are you going on tour? There should be a message. Right? The people who are coming should feel, okay, this person came to tell us this. He shared this. There is a story. Right? So you do that part. And of course, you have to share your, nowadays you can't escape social media. Right? You need to have your pre-campaigns, and then you need to share what you do on stage. Then, of course, the post-campaigns. Have those things running. Then you realize, I think now I'm ready for a bigger tour. Right? You slowly expand.
Yeah.
And with time, then you realize, hey man, I think I'm kind of an artist. People like me.
Right.
Right. So do what you do with a lot of love. Right. Don't think about wanting to be, want to be famous. It is not about the money. It is not. It's nothing else. You need to love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all about making people happy. This is our job. If you're an artist, your job is to go out there, make people happy, create those memories with them.
Right.
So do that with love. Right. With time, you realize money is a byproduct. You can't help it coming.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You realize you've created a brand. Right. It happens automatically. This is an artist. So go on those lines. Do what you're doing with a lot of love, and do it with your heart. You'll get there.
So basically, putting a fan base together, right? You first need to know who you are.
Yeah.
The artistry in you. Then you have to connect with your fan base, and then when you feel confident enough to go even to another country and perform, that's when you will take that first step of
because you need to perform in your own place.
Right.
It could be Sri Lanka, it could be Melbourne, it could be Colombo, it could be Avisavilla, it could be Tampa. Right?
Yeah.
If you need to get that experience, how to perform, how to engage with your crowds, how to share your emotions, how to, that entire thing, how to create that magic on stage.
Yeah.
So do that in school, do that with your family, do that with your extended family, right? Do that in your close surrounding.
Yeah.
Then later on, you can go on tour.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're going to a different country.
Right.
You're going to a different set of people who have different values, who have different cultures, right? And also in terms of time, how they see Sri Lankan music could be not so relevant as to what you are in time.
Mm.
They could be 5 years behind. They
Right.
could be 5 years in advance.
Right.
Right. So when you go on tour, your audience, your logistics, everything is slightly more complex.
Mm.
So before you get there,
You have to
first
do
have
your
to
research.
your
Yeah.
basics, hometown, and then get there.
Yeah. So obviously, you both have a very dedicated fan base, right? And I think you touched a little bit on this earlier. How do you stay connected with your fan base, both online and offline? You
Yeah.
did talk about the pre and post campaigns, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it social media the best way to bring a fan base up, or is it anything else? What are your thoughts on that?
I would say both,
Okay.
right? Maybe I'm an old school guy, right? I would say both because when you go on tour, right, you are going to connect with your people physically, right? So in order to do that, you need to engage with your fans physically.
Mm.
You need to perform physically. You need to have you need to know the art of connecting your songs with people, singing to them live, right? So that whole physical thing is very, very important,
Mm.
right? When you do that, yes, you will create a fan base who will physically come for your shows also, who will physically get connected,
Right.
right? So then while doing that, the presence and, the noise, it's way more what's get created in social media.
Right.
We can't help it. That is the way.
Right.
Physically, if you have 100 people, there'll be 1,000 people, online.
Right.
Right. So you cannot escape this whole social media thing. And right now, it is not a case of whether you're saying escaping or not. It is a part of it. Right. It is mandatory. It is very important because that is going to be your vehicle to take music to all these people. Right. They will hear through social media and then they will come to your show.
Right.
That's the way it's going to be.
Right.
That is the way it is right now.
Right.
Years ago, it was different.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's another interview, I could tell you how it evolves from a physical show to radio to, TV to
Sure.
how, because long years ago, radios used to go, long years ago, right? I'm talking, when radios came to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
After SLBC, all the commercial radios, they went to physical shows. Sri Lanka began a Sangita Prasanga.
Yeah.
Right? All these musical shows, they went there, they watched these new songs being performed at the musical shows. They would record there and then they would play it on radio. That was the culture.
Yeah.
No artist would go and give their songs to radio and say, can you play these songs?
Yeah.
Radios used to go behind the musical shows and get these songs.
Yeah.
Right? Because the physical industry was very vibrant in Sri Lanka starting from the 1970s.
Right.
But once this whole, during 2000, 2001, we got connected with radio a lot.
Yeah.
Our development happened, our progress happened not through musical shows. It was through media.
Yeah.
Then it changed.
Yeah.
Whereas people went to radio stations.
Yeah.
Today, it has even changed.
Yeah.
More than going to radio stations, you need to put it through social media. Yeah. So these two ingredients are must. But currently, the current generation may think physical is not important. But trust me, physical is important because by the time you suddenly connect big time social media and you become a big social media sensation, and then when you have to perform physically, then you realize, oh my God, I have not learned this whole gamut of it.
Yeah.
So when you're getting there, remember, suddenly, with time, you will become big.
Yeah.
That's your luck. That's what you do. Or it depends on your content, all those things. So by that time, if you have not groomed yourself, how to perform, how to create this magic on stage, then it'll be too late.
It might break.
So you have to do it simultaneously.
Yeah. So let's wrap up today's conversation and just wrapping things up. What can we expect out of BNS in the future? I think you shared a little bit that you have a lot of plans for the future, but what can you give as a message to the budding artists and the fans as what's in it for both of you in the near future?
So it's like this. I can't tell you anything very concrete about what's going to happen in the future, because one thing which has kept us kicking very well and, keeping us, alive in the industry for 26 years is that we have been always changing with the world.
Right.
As in, we make an effort to change because, as you know, when time goes, when you're a big brand, it's hard to change. It's hard to steer, do a U-turn of a big ship than a small boat. You can just do a turn like overnight.
Yeah.
But we've been properly concentrating and doing it. So we firmly believe that any artist should do songs for the next gen. You should not do it for your gen because your gen has grown up with a sound, a particular sound that they like about you.
Right.
Keep it there. But then all your new productions should be focused at the people to come in the next few years.
Wow.
So that's some advice that I would like to give anybody.
Yeah.
Because doing a piece of art, right, it should have a big impact to the world and also to the community, to the people, to the fans. And that can always be done much better when you give that message to a new crowd.
Right.
Because they are quite open to certain new suggestions.
Right.
Because most of the time what happens is the older that you get, you're set in your ways. So you always have to speak to the next gen.
Right.
Because that is how your art will go for a longer time, and also your art will create an impact even for the future generations. Because your art has already created an impact with the present generations and the past generations.
Yeah.
So that's one piece of advice that I would like to give anybody who is in the industry right now, and also anybody who wants to come into the industry. As in, that is something that you need to really be aware of, because if you do that, right?
Yeah.
You're on a path to a very, very successful and a very long career in the industry. But if you don't adhere to that, you can become big, you can be a superstar. But how long can you do that is a big question mark.
You heard it from the man himself, Bathiya and then Santhush. Keep on innovating. If you keep in one place or if you stay in one place, you're going to be old the next day, right? Your music, your artistry is going to be old the next day. So keep on innovating. Create music for the next generation, not even your generation. And then all you followers and folks who are watching this show, go and subscribe. Hit the link below or above. I don't know where the link is, but hit it. Subscribe to this channel where we bring more great content about business, technology, entrepreneurship, and music. Bathiya,
Thank
you so much for coming. Appreciate you, Santhush.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.